Well, welcome everybody to your 8th Strength and Soul video call. Most of you will be listening to this via recording, so I'm going to just go through all the important topics for tonight, and if you have questions, you can always catch me on Nudge or email me, or obviously feel free to call me anytime if you feel like you want to touch base and be able to get more information than what I've maybe brought up here, if you have more questions or you want more clarification about what I say. So tonight, as I mentioned in the email, we're going to be talking about portion control, which is a great topic for this time of year, really any time of year, but particularly through the holidays or even if you're struggling through the weekends. Talking about portion control is a really big deal. It's a very practical way to start looking at food in the ways that we can, control it a little bit more from a sense of a little bit of knowledge and awareness, which is something we've talked a lot about over the last few calls. But I wanted to start tonight's call off with a question for you, because this really brings us up to where we meet resistance in our body and in our mind. So the question I have for you is, what do you do when you meet your edge? And what does getting to your edge mean to you? When I say edge, what does that mean? Well, it could mean a lot of different things, but when I'm referring to it, what I'm really trying to say is when we've hit sort of the wall, either with our energy or what we have kind of with our own sense of knowledge or capability, or when we've come up against like where we just are in new territory, or possibly we're running on empty and we feel like we just can't go one more step, and yet we're asking ourselves to do just a little bit more. Those are kind of the things I think about when I think about my edge. I also think about my edge in a positive, really positive way of like, how far can I push myself and really test what I'm capable of? And then seeing if I can go just maybe one little step farther. So this could really relate to movement, which is something I'm asking you to do later today, is kind of push yourself to that edge during movement. And it also shows up in just the decisions that we make in facing our emotions. We talked about how we have true versus false hunger, and how do we address that false hunger and come up against our emotions and be able to still function in life without letting those emotions crumble us down to a little puddle every single time something comes up. And most of us are very good at this because we've learned how to stuff our feelings, but sometimes doing that over time can wear us down too with building up chronic stress. So just want you to ponder as we think about this call, and maybe throughout the next couple weeks, what do I do when I meet the edge of what I feel like I can do, or the edge of what I want to do and still want to do more? What comes up for me? And get curious about it. Portion control can be really tricky. But in general, there's a really easy way to just use our hands to be able to get a sense of what and how much we're supposed to eat. The interesting thing about looking at portion control is that it's a better way in a lot of ways of tracking our food versus logging our food. And now I've asked you guys at various times to kind of log and see like how many grams of protein are you really getting? And all of those, as you well know, are estimates, because oftentimes we're not weighing our food. We don't know exactly what quality of food it is. We don't know how it was cooked, especially if we're getting it at a restaurant. So there's all these variables that can affect what the actual true values are that we're putting into these databases to get out what we're looking for, which is content of macronutrients, micronutrients of food. And believe it or not, there is about a 25% error in the way that we estimate foods. But not only that, a 25% error in the way that they're able to calculate the actual nutrients of foods. So it's not an exact science. I really wish that it was. And for those of you who are very black and white people, that's going to really rub you wrong, because you're going to be like, what? Why am I even doing this? But it's worth doing from time to time just to get that close range of what could be going on. And then the other side of this is that there's also a 25% error for all of us in what we're able to evaluate with our energy expenditure. So how much did I burn in my workout? How many calories does running versus swimming actually burn? How do I figure that out based on my age, my weight, my gender, all those different things that can affect how much we're using for energy in our workouts? So suffice it to say, you can kind of see how difficult it is to really understand what we're getting out of food sometimes. So a better way of doing this is to just kind of get that more average amount that's based on our body size, what kind of God gave us when he made our body. This might be challenging for some of you who really want that exactness. That's okay. This is all just tools and an experiment. And the miracle is that our bodies kind of figure things out on their own. Our bodies consume, let's just say, over the course of an average year, let's just say that we have somebody who's eating about 1,800 calories a day on average. It all kind of averages out that way. So over the course of a year, let's say over 365 days a year, I did the math, they're consuming about 657,000 calories over the course of that year. And as you know, like we all have different activity levels, we all have different stress things going on, our hormones can get up and down and affect our metabolism. We can think about how many different ways that calorie could be, or that type of food could be consumed, whether it's fat, carbs, protein. And our body somehow has a way of really kind of keeping us steady Eddie, very much on the same plane. And it's a pretty miraculous process because even a 5% error over the course of that year should make us either gain or lose about 9 pounds. And for most of us, while that could happen, it takes a pretty big shift in our eating for that to actually occur. So it's pretty miraculous how much our body is able to just keep the steady flow. So it's a gift, really, that our body can stay the same. But the challenge is then using this hand portion control to then shift it so that our body and our mind are working together to actually change our habits of what we're putting in our mouth. And you can actually change how hungry you are. That's based on a couple of hormones called leptin and ghrelin. Those are actually produced at night when our body's restoring through the night. So what we're wanting to do is use the hand. So the hand guide, and I'm going to send you an actual picture of this so you have a visual. But the hand guide's super helpful. It's a little bit different for men, but I'm just going to tell you the women's hand guide. So the women's hand guide is that a serving of protein is about the size of the palm of your hand. It's the same thickness and the same measurement as the palm of your hand. So, sometimes you have to kind of use your imagination and flatten things out or whatever. But in general, especially if you have chopped meat, you can kind of think about that being about the size of the palm of your hand. And you want to have one of those servings at each of your main meals throughout the day. The second thing that we can use our hand for are veggies. And when I say veggies, it's things like broccoli, cauliflower, leafy greens, anything like spinach or carrots, those sorts of things. So we're looking for things that don't have any, usually it's a thing that doesn't have a seed in it. So something that's not like even a cucumber or green pepper. So we want these things to be like true actual vegetables. Of those, we're gonna have 2 big fist sizes. That's a serving. So it's a pretty big amount, which is awesome, which is why veggies are so great for us. So we can eat a lot of them, and they're really, we get a lot of portion out of those that still is gonna be good for our health. Good fiber, good nutrients, low in glycemic index, these veggies. The next thing are the carbohydrate dense foods. So I'm kind of separating this more than I have in the past because usually I would say like fruits and veggies are this, salad is this, maybe like more of a starchy carb is this. But we're just looking at like true vegetables are going to be these 2 fistfuls, that's your portion size. But the second thing we're talking about is the more carbohydrate rich. So these are going to be things like your potatoes, your fruits, those things that are more grains, things like that. That's going to be just about a cupped handful. So if you think about filling like the cup of a hand so that it's just full, that's 1 serving. So a little less than those 2 fistfuls, obviously. And then the last thing is going to be your fat-dense food. So things like your oils, your nuts, your seeds. That's going to be the length of your thumb. So if you lined up a bunch of almonds along your thumb, maybe you could even get a couple of side by side, that's going to be the length of your thumb. So that's just a really simple and easy way to evaluate your hand control. So the other thing, so that's just simple. So that's all of those things I just said, that should be what you're getting in all of your main meals. And then your snacks, you can kind of like vary. But one thing we've talked about is it's really good to pair something that's lower in glycemic index. So either those first 2, the veggies or the protein, with those carbohydrate dense foods, or having just one of those first 2 by themselves. So that's one way you can kind of tweak your food throughout the day to think about getting more into weight loss mode. Okay, so that's the hand portion control guide. Like I said, I'm going to send you the visual, so you'll have a reminder of that when you're on your own, and you feel free to print that to have it with you at all times. But the other thing you can use your fist for is more of a tool with cravings and meeting ourselves at this edge. And it's more of a psychological tool. So what I want you to imagine is that you're standing in front of a big buffet of holiday foods, or maybe it's a potluck for work, and there's all these things that you really, really love. You've already had your one plate full. You've promised yourself you're not having any more, but you're up socializing, and that table just will not stop calling at you because there's just a couple of other things you want seconds of. But you promised yourself before you got there you were only going to have one plate full, and that's it. So you're trying to follow these boundaries and limitations you've set for yourself. So here's a little tool you can use that's going to engage your body and your mind and help you with your emotional tug towards that food. What you're going to do is, if you can, close your eyes. But if not, you're going to take a deep breath. You're going to squeeze your fist. You're going to hold that breath as long as you can. And then I want you to tell yourself, I let it go, as you release your hand. You can say anything you want in this situation. You can say, I don't know, F it. You can say, I don't need this, or I'm satisfied just as I am. Whatever comes to mind, I just want you to get the physical sensation of releasing your hand as you exhale. And what that does is it helps direct your attention to actually feeling the sense of pushing away the need for something that you actually aren't needing, right? This is not a physical need for something, it's a desire and a want. These things aren't easy, right? And there are things that we have to practice over time to get into our memory and into our habit loop so that we're using them in a way that benefits us. One of the things I wanted to bring up was a few different quotes, some like more soulful quotes, so that we can maybe see a little bit more wisdom for why meeting our edge is so crucial for positive, healthy living, but also for really growing our life and living it abundantly. In Proverbs 16:32, it says, better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city. You can kind of sit with these and interpret them. I'll send them to you in email. But to me, what that means is it takes a lot more energy and a lot more work to learn how to be patient, not only with other people, but especially with ourselves, because it really does make us more of a warrior to be patient with ourselves than pretty much any other thing that we could do to overtake something else. The second thing is from Deepak Chopra. It says, in the midst of movement and chaos, keep stillness inside of you. This one really hit me because I feel like I'm very much living a chaotic life right now with all the extra things going on and obviously kids, etc. But in the midst of that, can we practice keeping stillness inside of us and accessing that when we want it? And then thirdly, I count him braver who overcomes his desires than him who conquers his enemies. For the hardest victory is over self, which kind of goes back to that first one for me. That was Aristotle. So the question I leave you with before we start our interval program is, in the midst of movement, the question I have for you is, how can you live on the razor's edge so that it sharpens your life rather than cutting you deep? Let's say it again. How can you live on the razor's edge so that it sharpens your life rather than cutting you deep? In my mind, one of the ways we do that is we practice sitting on that razor's edge in peace and in mindfulness and letting it make us stronger. Marta, I think of you and what you've been going through, and actually all of us, I'm sure, have hit these places where life has really pushed us up to that edge and beyond, and we've had to find a way to get peace and stillness within ourselves, even though there's all this chaos, all these things that could break us, wanting to press in. So let's practice getting stronger with our movement tonight. We're going to be doing 5 exercises that each are going to be 30 seconds long. They do have a little bit of impact, but you're welcome to kind of make these less impact by just simply doing less jumping. And I'll kind of show you a little bit of both. I am gonna go through these for 3 rounds, and I'm gonna set my recorder for being able to send this to you in more of a succinct video, so you don't have to get the whole first and every single time you wanna do these intervals. So I'm gonna set up my this video so that we can hopefully see the majority of what I'm doing here. I'm gonna get my timer ready. Make sure I don't forget my list of exercises. So while I'm doing this, you might want to grab a couple of soup cans and either a towel or maybe a mat or rug, something soft that you can lay down on. So you guys will probably not be able to see me completely in this Zoom video, but you will catch it all on the, there we go, the other video. Okay, so I'm gonna go and push record here. Okay, so this is our strength and soul interval circuit. We're gonna be going through 5 exercises, 30 seconds on, 15 seconds off. You can use an awesome gym timer I've talked about before that's called either Gym Boss or just the interval timer. Set it up ahead of time so you can hear the beeps and they'll tell you when to work and when to rest. So the first exercise we're gonna be doing is a squat jump. The second exercise is a push-up. We're gonna be doing alternating lunges, bent over reverse fly, which is what those soup cans are for, and then additionally your long leg bicycles. So we get a little bit of core, a little lower body, a little upper body, and it'll be super fun. And you'll see your heart rate's gonna go up a little bit with these. The goal is to push yourself as hard as you possibly can in the on interval, and then take as much rest as you possibly can get out of those 15 seconds of rest. So starting with these squat jumps, I'm gonna actually move this video up a little bit so you can see me from here. Sorry about that. Okay, ready, squat jumps, and go. So we're gonna sit back, come up, and pop those hips up. Okay, so you wanna keep the feet wide, keep the knees wide so that they're aiming over the ankles, chest is staying tall. Sitting the booty back. We're halfway there already. So again, your pace might be faster than mine, it might be slower than mine. You go with what feels most challenging to you. You don't want to get off the ground if that jumping feels too much. You just stand and come up and down. Okay, so now we're going to be taking it to the floor. Come onto the knees or the hands if you need to. Contract your core, and we want to be doing our push-ups. So hands are going to go wide in the shoulder width. Tummy strong, squeeze those glutes all the way down and up. So these start out pretty easy when you're on your knees, but over the course of 30 seconds get pretty tough. Work your way up to doing these off the knees. 10 seconds. 5 seconds. Great, so for now, I'm going to a reverse lunge next. When in a reverse lunge, you want to make sure your front shin is staying vertical to the floor. We're going to step back, lunge the back knee down, and alternate feet. So again, keep these nice and controlled, but stay fast as you can. Make sure that knee is staying centered over the ankle again, so we're not letting it squeeze in the middle. Chest stays tall. Oopsie. 3 more seconds. Great. So if you have soup cans, which I forgot to bring over, you're gonna hold it in your hands. We're gonna get in a bent over position. Back is flat, chest is out, core is turned on. We're gonna do a soft bend in the knees. We open and squeeze the shoulders and come down. So you can get a lot of reps out of these. If you're not using soup cans and you want to make this a little harder, you can go into a big V overhead. Totally up to you. Or you could make one round one way, one round another way. But I encourage you to hinge from your hips, squeeze those shoulder blades together, tighten the back. Awesome. We're gonna take it to the floor. So from here, you're gonna lose me in the Zoom video, but here I am on this video. We're gonna take those legs up in the air, and we're gonna do a long leg bicycle. So leg to go long, elbow to opposite knee. Okay? Focusing on keeping the back on the floor. Rotating the shoulders as far as you can to actually touch your elbow to your knee. Every rep. 10 more seconds. Breathing through it. Again, keep that low back really attached to the ground. Great. All right, back to those squat jumps, round 2. Now remember again, 3 rounds. You can shorten the rest if you feel like you're getting too much rest and this isn't hard enough. You can also add weights to this exercise program if you feel like it's not hard enough, right? So you hold a weight right here at your chest, and then keep that speed up. Knees over the ankles, sitting the hips back. Really pretend like you're sitting back in a chair. 10 more seconds. Breathe, breathe. And rest. Down to those push-ups. Taking that rest to really get some nice, good, long, deep breaths. Remember to squeeze your core here. Keep those glutes turned on. All the way down and up. Try to really pull those shoulder blades in. Then press fully away from the floor. 12 seconds. 5. 3. Alternating lunges are next. Fun yet? So right now we're halfway through about. So taking those one big step back, bring that back knee to the floor. Here we go. Tap that back knee down. Front shin staying pretty vertical. The goal is to center the knee over the ankle. Keep your core turned on. Keep the weight in your front heel as long as possible. Eight more seconds. Great. And reverse fly is next. So again, you may want to have small weights for this one. We want to keep that back nice and flat, tailbone lifted, soft bend in the knees. Ready? Begin. Shoulder blades squeezing together. Every time, really feel that pinch in the middle of your back. Core's turned on. Catching your breath here a little bit before you head to the floor. Really working those back muscles. Whole back side of the body. 3 seconds. Good. Head on down to the floor. All right, keeping into that bicycle now. You're gonna lay flat and rotate the shoulders towards, elbows towards the knee. And go. End of round 2 after this. Don't stop now. Really try to keep those legs long and rotate the shoulder way up off the floor. 12 seconds. 5 to go. Excellent. All right. One last round. Should have brought water for this too. Next time I'll remember. When you're doing this, make sure you have your water nearby. Squat jumps. Here we go. All right, give it all you got. We're seeing get a little higher this time. Sit a little lower. Go a little quicker. Grab something a little heavier. There's no limit to how many rounds of these you can do, so we're starting with 3. See if you can work up to 5. Or more. 10 seconds. Keep it going. Sit those hips back. Don't get lazy with these. Form is important. 3 more seconds. And stop. Down to the floor for push-ups. Good to have something kind of soft for those knees. Hands come outside shoulder width, tummy on. Here we go. Keep working that form even if you have to slow down. So tummy's strong, glutes are on, so the booty is strong. Just 10 more seconds. All the way down and up. 3, 2, 1. Nice. All right, reverse lunges. 2 more exercises here, guys. I'm sorry, 3 more exercises. Oh, do my math. Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Step it back. Stay tall. Keep these quick. So if you want to make this harder, we can also turn this into more of a hop if you don't have weights. So since we're pushing ourselves, I will give it a try here. 10 more seconds. Bent over reverse fly left or next. So again, chest is out, tailbone lifted. We're gonna squeeze those shoulder blades together. So again, I really would start with some of these soup cans or water bottles here to get the most out of this exercise. Working that exhale to get the best recovery you can. You guys should be getting a little bit of a glow by now. Breaking a little sweat. 3 seconds. Awesome. Super. Okay. Last exercise. Whew. So let's lay back. Get those feet up, ready? Twist it through, leg almost all the way to the floor or touching the ground. Try to really get that elbow across the body. Touch all the way through. Keep the back flat into the floor. Keep peeling those shoulders off the ground as far as you can. 5 more seconds. Awesome. Done. All right, ladies, so after this, I would highly recommend you go back to our stretching video and do some stretching, whether that's total body or you add in a few of your own, just especially for your hips and shoulders. So thanks for joining me for the call tonight, for doing this exercise program with me. High intensity intervals are great to get in 2 to 3 times per week. This only takes about 10, 12 minutes. It's a great thing to just stick in when you're having not a lot of time to do other things and you would still want to get a high level workout in. Hope you enjoy it, let me know, and I'll talk to you soon.